Okay, guys, Mike Hayes here, Jeff Garner here, and it's Happy Talk Monday. And we're going to get ready, give you a minute to get settled in, call a friend, text somebody, and let them know that we're on live right now. It's Monday, it's 4 o'clock Central Time. So depending on what time zone you're in, it depends on what time you're watching this, but we are in 4 o'clock Central Time. Jeff, you're going to be flying this evening back to Pacific time zone, 2 hours behind us.
Yep.
But what a weekend, Jeff. So while people are gathering in, let's just talk about that a minute. Book launch weekend.
Yeah.
And here it is in person. It's
we finally have it. The weekend was incredible. We had a book launch party and then book signings. We spoke 2 different locations on Sunday, book signings at both of those locations. Then we've been able to be together in the same place and continue strategizing with our Poppy Army, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that in a moment.
Yeah.
So it's been an eventful weekend. It's been a productive weekend. But while we're waiting for people to come on, I should tell everybody about my dinner when I landed here.
Yeah, please do.
So I landed here in Dallas, and Deborah and I decided we're going to go get dinner. We went to Kinney's Woodfire Grill, which I mentioned in the book. I think it's in chapter 6. It's in chapter 8. And we're there, we're getting the dinner. The girl walks up to us. Where are you from? Oh, we're from San Francisco. We're here. What are you here for, a book launch? Oh, I'm over our book club. What book is it? So we tell her about the book. Oh, that's so exciting. We'll do the book here with our book club. She runs off. She tells the manager. He comes over, sits down for about 30 minutes. And his name's Jeff, and we sit there, we talk for a long time. He opens up his heart to us. He's going through cancer. He's like, I'm going to go get the book right now. He goes, buys the book online, joins the Happy Army, calls the owner. The owner buys the book, joins the Happy Army, the owner of Kinney's Woodfire Grill. Then comes back in with this dessert, because by that time it was dessert time, with this huge dessert. It was like, it was a brownie with ice cream, and then a huge plate, and then it said, congratulations on Real Happy.
Yeah.
Quotes right there brought to us and was cheering. It was an awesome way to start the weekend. We felt like celebrities right there from the very beginning.
Yeah. And that's great food, by the way, at Kenny's. But that was really special. You told me about it and sent a picture of the special dessert, and we appreciated it so much. Well, the weekend book launch was amazing, and first of all, you can go to Amazon now and get the book, and it'll be anywhere books are sold, but I would encourage you to go to Amazon right now and look for Real Happy. It is featured as the best new seller, best new product on Amazon, and I think this week became number 2 in the rankings of all its category, second only to the Bible. So really, if you pull that out as a comp, it's number 1.
It's hard to beat the Bible. Nobody can beat the Bible.
That's right.
One.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
But we want you to go and get your copy. And we're going to talk today a little bit about the book, but indirectly, because on the front of the book is a red poppy. And then Jeff and I actually have one on. I have one right here. Jeff has one on his collar. And we felt like we could explain that and talk to you today about what this means. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 28, in the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus actually taught the Beatitudes, and that's the outline of this book. The premise of this book is the 9 Beatitudes. And so in that sermon, Jesus just attacks anxiety, anxious thoughts. 6 times in that passage in Matthew 6, he addresses specifically anxious thoughts. Why are you anxious? So in that, and that's why this has become our symbol, in that he says, consider the poppies. Now, in the old King James Version, it says, consider the lilies. But when you look at the original language, first of all, I don't think there were lilies growing in the arid north of Galilee, but there are poppies. And we've been there, Jeff, when they are spread across the hills. They're beautiful. And so Jesus said, consider the poppies, because they don't work or spin, but Solomon in all of his array was never dressed like one of them. And Jesus attacks anxious thoughts. Why are you worried about what you're going to wear, or where you're going to live, what you're going to eat? Consider the poppy.
Yeah.
So this is going to become a viral thing. Everybody is going to be wearing a poppy or have a book with a poppy on the front. And so I want us to talk just a minute, Jeff, if I could get into this with you about what that means to consider the poppy. What was Jesus? Why did he tie that to the happy dialogue about what we call the Beatitudes?
I think it's like in the sermon, in that part of the sermon, he says, look at the birds, consider the poppies, and it's a beautiful, just for a moment, there's so much peace and hope and good news that comes from looking at God's creation.
Yeah.
Like he has created, his creation has within it the ability to sustain itself. It has the seed within the fruit-bearing tree. You know, all of this can be sustained. It can continue on from generation to generation. And he brings us back to that. And I find personally that in each aspect of creation, there's a gospel, there's some kind of good news, some kind of declaration that it speaks or glorifies God towards. So David says, the heavens declare the glory of God. Or Solomon says, go to the ant. You know, like these creatures of God are declaring something. They say something to us that give us, that inform us. And we both, Mike and I both feel that the poppy has its own message that it communicates to us. And that message is, don't be anxious.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we were pointing this out, which I'd love to talk about here for a moment, because it's such an applicable point to people. But it seems there are three areas that people find themselves anxious over.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to, if you would like to share, or you want me to jump into it first. But the first one I know is people tend to get anxious when they have a scarcity mentality, when there's not enough.
Yeah.
If you think there's not enough time, or then you can wake up in the morning and you feel anxious and the day hasn't even started because you feel like there's just not enough time today to get all the stuff done that I need to get done. Or I don't have enough resources to be able to accomplish the goals that I want to accomplish with my life. Or I don't know enough people, or I don't have enough money.
I don't have enough education.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have enough money, often heard. I don't have a good marriage. I don't have children. I don't have, it's anxiety. And we're going to give you three, I think the top three reasons that Jesus attacks here. But the first one is so important, which is we get anxious when we don't think we have enough of something. Yeah. Enough money, enough love in our lives, enough friends.
Yep.
Which brings us to the second one, is we get anxious when we think we're alone.
Mm-hmm.
When you're alone in the battle.
Mm-hmm. If you feel like that God's not with you, that for whatever reason you failed God, you have too many regrets, and you feel like I'm not worthy of God, or if you feel like you don't have enough good friends, or your family's not with you, loneliness is fast becoming the number one epidemic in the world.
Yeah.
People can be in the midst of a huge crowd, of a crowded room, and feel completely isolated, like they're all alone. That nobody understands them, nobody knows where they're coming from, nobody can relate to them, and this gives a person anxiety, because then they start feeling, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
You know, something must be wrong with me, that I don't get along with people. People can't connect with me, and so you feel this nervous energy about you all the time, and sometimes we overcompensate.
Yeah.
We do things that are a bit awkward, trying to connect or trying to overcome that loneliness that we feel inside.
Well, what's let's just, I don't like the term devil's advocate, but what's wrong with being anxious? Because Jesus definitely not only doesn't recommend it, but really attacks it. I mean, it's pretty strong to say, don't be. Why are you anxious? So we're talking really, Jeff, in the book about happiness. So why is anxiety and anxiousness a destroyer of our happiness? Is it possible that they coexist?
Of course, I don't think it's possible. You can, the happy, anxious person.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm really anxious, but really happy about it.
I'm really anxious about my happiness. It's not something they can't coexist together.
Right.
And when you have anxiety, it affects your health.
Yeah.
Physical health is affected by it.
Yeah.
You know, your heart. You can have a heart attack. Your life can be shortened because you have way too much anxiety, and it's overwhelming you. Blood pressure.
Well, and it's interesting what Jesus said is, which of you by worry, by anxiousness, has added one day to your life? Well, the other side of that coin is all of you have taken days off of your life because of your anxiety. So it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's not possible to be happy and anxious at the same time. Yesterday, we talked about this as I spoke at Covenant Church's South Campus, and Jeff was at the North Campus. And I know for me, Jeff, when I touched on these ideas about anxious thinking and anxiety, at the book signing table, that's almost all I heard. Everybody was really, that was a trigger for a lot of people. I am so anxious. Mm-hmm. And it's really not that hard to identify what we're anxious about. Mm-hmm. They usually don't say, I know there's a clinical term called generalized anxiety, but typically it's not that hard for somebody to say, I am anxious about, mm-hmm. or I am anxious because. Mm-hmm. I thought I'd just throw this out there. Maybe we discuss it. Maybe it's just an idea that I give you. But an older gentleman that was a mentor and theologian in my life told me one time, he said, Mike, they just happen to all start with A, which helps you remember. But he said there are 3 prohibitions that Jesus and the apostles covered often in the New Testament, and there are 3 don'ts. They're not like the 10 Commandments. It's not like a bondage of a law, but there are 3 no-nos. There's 3 don'ts in the New Testament that Jesus and the apostles touched on often. Don't be anxious, don't be angry, and don't argue. Those are 3 things that come up often. And so why is that? Well, I don't think that you can really exist in the kind of joy and happiness that the Father intends for us and be involved very much in any one of those 3. You know, a political election year, God help us, is coming up in America this year for a presidential election and a lot of undercard election campaigns to be held. And there are people, as I advised against, by the way, in my message yesterday, it's going to sound like I was kind of all over the map, but I did mention an election year, and I advised people, please don't allow an election of someone that you like or don't like that's going to be a 4-year term, max probably, and separate you from the people that you've loved or will love all your life. Right. Please don't let that happen. Because that's the prohibition really on arguing. Why do we allow ourselves to argue about things that are going to be a moving target? They're going to change anyway. Yeah. They're never going to stay the same. So it's not possible then, we agree, to be anxious and to be happy at the same time. Where do you feel like, Jeff, that we address that the most poignantly or specifically in the book about happiness and the Beatitudes of happiness?
Where do we address the anxiety, or address the? I think in the first Beatitude, if we're talking about making room and emptying out, happy are the poor in spirit. That if you have a disposition of I am available and open for God to fill my life. If that's where your heart is, like all I need is God, and that's what I get, I think it's almost an antidote to anxiety, because you're not clinging. And anxiety is this kind of clinging, grasping, trying to hold on to something, time, money, whatever. Whereas that first Beatitude is the opening up of the hands. It's a letting go. Yeah. It's vacant, making vacant my heart so that God can come in and fill that with His joy and His peace. So I wonder if the first Beatitude, if the first happy oracle touches on that. It certainly touches on, like we talked about, if we're talking about the three places that people get anxiety the most, the third being we worry about the future, which this is what Jesus hits really, really head on. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't be anxious about tomorrow, because you don't even know what a day's going to bring.
No, he says tomorrow will take care of itself.
Yeah,
The worries of tomorrow will take care of themselves. That's really strong, Jeff, for Jesus to say, don't worry about the future. I was thinking a minute ago how it ties to the first Beatitude, and I think it's really beautiful that I think we would agree that these programs we watch about hoarders, that anxiousness about their lives and not having enough has to fit psychologically into why someone would hoard.
Yeah.
If I can fill my environment with enough stuff, sometimes to the extreme where they can't even hardly find a path to walk to another room, why is that? That's not a happy person. That's an anxious person, I think. That's someone who is so obsessed with the idea that they may not have enough that they start to hoard.
Yeah.
So happy people are open-handed, giving people, and in fact saying, I'm courageous enough to just empty my spirit out of all of this junk that I've tried to put in there to make myself feel secure about my future.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking of, I was refreshing myself. I read Surprised by Joy when we were researching for the book, C.S. Lewis's Surprised by Joy. I was refreshing myself this week and just going back through it. He says something about joy, he says, he uses the German word Sehnsucht. It's this idea of longing. It's God. It's a longing for God's presence when you have not yet apprehended.
Yeah.
It's not as if you have a grasp on it, but the longing itself is so pure. The longing for God is so pure that you long for the longing, and you are fulfilled by the longing itself, even though you haven't actually grasped it. And I think it's the one thing, if we're talking about being worried about the future, being worried that there's not enough, being worried that we're all alone, it's the one thing that joy and that God's happiness does is you have this pure longing for God, and in that the purity of that longing, it almost washes out the anxiety of everything. It's like when I look at the poppy, that's what I think the poppy's doing. The poppy is just being a poppy.
Yeah.
It's just being a poppy before God. It's not trying to be a rose. It's not trying to be a lily. It's not trying to be a thorn bush. It's just like, I'm a poppy. I'm happy in what I am. And in living that out, it shows us this beautiful message of God takes care.
Yeah.
God closed the mountain. God takes care of that poppy. It's going to come back up next year.
Yeah.
The poppy doesn't have to worry about, man, I got to make sure I save enough for myself so that next year I can do this again during springtime.
Yeah.
But God takes care of it.
And the poppy has no wheels. He pretty well is where he is.
That's right.
And he's like, I can't get up and run anywhere. Yeah. I trust the creation process so much that when the seed that I came from fell between these two pebbles, I decided to grow right here.
Yeah.
And I've put down roots, and come what may, wind, hail, drought, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't run from it, and I trust God. Yeah. I thought it was great yesterday. You and I talked about the little writing of Jerome, a church father from centuries ago, who held a little, I think, chestnut like in his hand and began to contemplate it, and God began to talk to him about it. And ultimately, he was saying, you know, how concerned is this that it just wastes away because of its littleness? And then his final summation was, and I think this is beautiful, Jeff, that it came to him, there's three things that are true about this. That God made me, and God loves me, and God sustains me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the poppy
how
does.
Simple and how profound.
Yeah, yeah.
Even as a reflection on my own life, God made me.
Yeah.
God loves me.
Yeah.
God keeps me.
Yeah. Gosh, I think that's a great place for us to land today for everyone that's watching now or on a replay. We're live right now. And we want to bless you. We want to pray for you Also, I want to encourage you to get a copy of the book. Don't miss out. You'll be in on the early first week launch of Real Happy, Jesus' Surprising Path to Genuine Joy that the Lord favored Jeff and I to write and to release to the world, and we believe that it's going to change lives. We're already seeing early reports of changed lives. So I've got my poppy hat on today, which is on the website. I've got my little poppy on our collar because I want you to consider the poppy. God takes care of us. You have nothing to be anxious about. And I would like to encourage our friends, Jeff, to go to I'mRealHappy.com and get updates on what all is available for the Happy Army. We're building a Happy Army. And by the end of next year, our goal is to have 100,000 happy coaches. And you can be a coach. So we're going to offer virtual coaching courses, and then you can become a coach for coaching people into happiness. What would it be like if we could train and release 100,000 happiness coaches based on the words and the teachings of Jesus? And that's why we use the term real happy, not fake happy, not I got a new car and I'm happy, and now the car's broken down, I'm not happy. Not that kind of happy. Real deep, settled peace and joy, which is the makeup of the kingdom. So go to the website there at I'mRealHappy.com and just give us your email. This is not so we can pester you. This is so you can join the Happy Army, and we're going to see the world change. So, Jeff, it's been great. By the way, Jeff and I do this every Monday, and we will be doing this every Monday at 4 o'clock Central. But Jeff is here with me live today, but headed back to San Francisco, where he and Deborah live, and they'll be on West Coast time. But we always do it 2 p.m. every Monday, West Coast time, Pacific time, and 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll be back again next week. But look, we want to communicate with you. We'd love to hear from you. Reach out. The book is available now, and some other beautiful merchandise is going to be available on the MikeHayes.org website, which includes the poppy hat that I'm wearing. The ladies have some beautiful tops like sweatshirt, casual, fun, stylish tops. You'll be seeing all of that. You can see it on the website, but we want you to be really happy. Jeff, take a minute as we close. I feel like just saying a word of blessing and prayer over our friends today.
Yeah, I would love to. I bless you all with Jesus's rich peace and joy. May your anxieties be completely taken away. May you feel lighter, hopeful. May you sense God's presence with you so that you're not alone. And may you be present, like in this moment right now, and not worried about tomorrow, what's coming, and not regretful over yesterday and what was lost, but knowing that right now in this moment, you are made by God, you are loved by God, and you are kept by God. I bless that over you in Jesus' name.
That is so good, Jeff, and that blesses me. I needed a refresh in that myself, because it doesn't matter how long you've been at this, or how professional you think you are, or how good you think you're doing. We need that fresh baptism of the oil of joy, and that's what God has promised us. So thank you for being with us live today. If you didn't catch it live, it'll be available by replay. But we'll see you, meantime, next Monday, same time, same place. We love you. God bless you. Bye-bye.